can't preach like this. I need fire. I need fire. I can't stay married like this. I need some fire. I need fire. Fire. Is there anybody in the room who needs the fire of God tonight? Oh, come on. It's time to worship.
Sometimes y'all feel like y'all don't know why we do what we do. But it's the reason why we do it. We love God. This ain't fake. It's real. Ow!
Hey, welcome to Fire Unfiltered, where you're being touched by the fire and power of God. If you're seeking inspiration, encouragement, healing, miracles, signs, and wonders, you found it right here on Fire Unfiltered with your host, Latangela Rogers, who delivers empowering messages that purifies our hearts, shapes our character, and awakens our spirits. And now, here's Latangela.
Hey. It is a great day here on Fire Unfiltered. I want to welcome you to today's podcast. And guess what? This is the place for you to be ignited, transformed, and to receive your restoration. So I am your host, Latangela Rogers, and it is Saturday Morning Empowerment. We are giving you 30 minutes of action-packed conversation. And guess what? We have a co-host on today that I will be introducing you in just a second. On today, our show is being brought to you by Rose of Jericho Community Development Center, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to transforming the lives of people through community outreaching. And what are they outreaching? They are actually bringing you community programs that will help to heal and restore communities through mental health awareness. They also do community health screenings and a number of other programs. So you can actually check them out at www.roseofjericho-cd.org. Again, www.roseofjericho-cd.org. I was a little bit tongue-tied, but don't worry about it. You will go ahead and just Google it. You can find Rose of Jericho Community Development anywhere on your Google search. Message that we are bringing you. Again, I want to just welcome you to the show. And let us just jump right in. We have a beautiful co-host that she has graciously agreed to grace our presence every third Saturday with therapy sessions. So this is Therapy Session Saturdays because it's the three that gets me all the time. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We can't never leave him out. We always welcome him into our show. And I want to introduce to some of you that are listening here, you might be well aware of her on social media. And she is very much she's just a beauty to me. I love her spirit. She is a licensed therapist out of Maryland. She also is in the area of DC, Virginia, and Georgia, I believe. So she is, she's kind of making her way through our nice little United States, and we want to see her on other platforms. But let's welcome Nicole Martinez. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. So, Nicole, why don't you just give people a little bit more about who you are and your profession, and then we'll go ahead and jump right into today's topic. Guess what? We're talking about blended families, and it's blended families in the midst of a pandemic. What is that going to be about today? So go ahead, Nicole.
All right. I'm Nicole Martinez. I am a clinical mental health therapist, and I am what we call cognitive behavioral. So that means that I work with the mindset or the mind. Okay. And my philosophy is that you change your mindset, you change your behavior, change your outcome. So I believe that everything starts in the mind. Everything starts in how we see things, the foundation, or what some people will call we're process people. I'm a process therapist. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't like therapists always asking me how I feel. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't ask you how you feel, but I really don't care. More so importantly is like what the why. I get down to the why, understanding the why, because if we understand the why, then we can understand the change that is needed.
So you said something that was so good to me, which is changing the mind, because this platform, Fire Unfiltered, is all about transformation and restoration. And the
Mm-hmm.
only way to transform is by changing the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people don't realize. So we can even change our habits, but if we don't change our mind, we're still going to be in the same place. And
Correct.
so how we think, and even when we think what we think, we have to be careful not to speak if it's
Mm-hmm.
negative. If we take in too much negativity, then we find ourselves thinking negative, speaking
Correct.
negative, and then all of that comes into the atmosphere in which we reside. We manifest what we speak and think. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what your focus is. Am I correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a big believer in either speaking something into existence or not speaking it into existence. Being very mindful of what it is that what comes out of your mouth, and actually, what even the seed that is planted into your mind.
Mhm.
There is a type of therapy called mindfulness, and so it's about the here and now, and it's about being very present and in the moment. And so I kind of combine both of those for in my practice, where I do cognitive and mindfulness, but it's about being consciously aware of enjoying the moment at this very moment. And if I'm going to be negative at this very moment, then that means I'm going to have a negative experience, right? But if I'm going to be positive in this very moment, then I'm going to have a positive experience. And that means that finding the gratefulness in even in the midst of the storm.
And I really started to pay attention because I turned 40 this year, and um,
Congratulations.
for me, it was about I needed to change my mind. I needed to change, like you said, the seeds that were being planted in my mind.
Mhm,
Who does God say I am, and
mhm,
believe it? Because a lot of the times I found that I would start progressing in something, but lack the confidence, and then
mhm,
the thoughts, the seeds that were planted into my mind, like, oh, I don't think I can do this. But if you put that little seed out there, then it grows, it takes root, and it grows into
mhm.
something that you didn't even expect. And then you find yourself going backwards. And so I started mindful meditation. So
Good.
I start my mornings off so that I can raise my vibration and know and start my day off positive. Like, I don't wake up to the negative. I don't let the negative come in, because sometimes, we wake up, we say, oh, I'm already not having a good day, or I woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Go to bed.
What? Like,
Mhm.
he's doomed because you
Yes.
woke up talking about you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. No, I'm having a great day. Today is a great day. So my mindful meditation actually puts me in that place where I'm already off to a great start. So nothing is going to impact my day, because everything, the seed starts when I wake up.
Mhm.
So we don't want to spend our whole time talking about that. So tell us about who you are besides that. Where's your business located, and how could people, we'll mention it again by the end of the show, but I just really want people to understand and be able to reach out to you if you're struggling in the mind, especially right now, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. How can people reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I am located in Maryland, the Maryland area, or what we call the DMV around here. But ultimately, we are telehealth. So we're online as well. So we offer telehealth. So that actually has expanded my business greatly, because I am now able to meet with people in Georgia, meet with people in New York, meet with, depending on the time differences. I have had people who have gone out west. So
Wow.
yeah, so I mean, of course, we have to coordinate the time, but ultimately, telehealth has expanded the opportunity for people to be able to come and get really good help. So you don't have to actually go into the office. People can actually speak to me through the comfort of their home. I mean, I've had people they have a house full of folks, and they'll go to their car and they'll spend, their 50-minute session in their car. And that's the one time that they have where they're able to just release, or they'll take their lunch break. I have plenty of people who will take their lunch break and then they'll go to their car, or they'll go somewhere where they can have a quiet time and just have a session with me while they're at lunch. So we are located either online, or you can reach us in Maryland. We are in the Camp Springs area, if you are in the Maryland area, and that's what we consider the DMV. We can always give us a call, which our number is 301-433-8777, and someone will answer, or my admin will answer, and basically take your information down and get you registered. All right. Or you can always find us at Instagram, which is House of Steel Inc. So House of Steel Inc. And then we're also on Facebook as well, which is House of Steel Inc. You can also, a lot of times when people want to read up on us, because there's like 6 other therapists that I have there as well, you can go to www.houseofsteel.com.
All right. So, Steve, now let us just jump right into this blended family kind of conversation. Yeah. I come from a blended family, actually, and it was pretty darn interesting. We had an interesting family. It was in this pandemic setting. Oh my God, I think somebody would be calling the police on us. So, I wanted to talk about just a few different things, and again, this is 30-minute show. So guys, we can't touch on everything, but we did come prepared for you. So why are you passionate? Because I remember in a prior conversation, you mentioned that your passion was blended family. So why?
Yeah, that's actually one of my passions. But the reason why is because, I mean, in our society, this day and time, that is actually the norm these days, you know? And I think it's very important for us to understand that a child's upbringing as adults, we play a very major role in that. And because we made a choice, whether it was because it was for our safety or not, to separate from that child's parent, other parent, or to never be with that parent, depending on what the situation is, and to choose to attach ourselves to somebody else, it makes a difference how we approach that situation. It makes a difference in that child's life too. You just stated yourself, like, hey, you know what? I don't know if it was the most healthiest thing, you know. And then you told us earlier you just turned 40. So here it is, 40 years later, you're still saying, I don't know if the most healthiest thing. It's a memory that has been etched into your is a experience, that has been etched into your memory. And that is very important. So I actually teach couples how to healthy co-parent, mm-hmm. and how to, what I call, be a healthy co-pilot. Oh. And that's whether they're together or apart. And that's also whether they have their own co-pilot or not.
Yeah. So blended families is a difficult task, as you just mentioned, mm-hmm. but doing it in the midst of a pandemic. So how does blended families survive something like this? Because we don't know how long this is going to be going on. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of moving dynamics happening, because most of us, you know, we're pretty much on the go in the United States. Mm-hmm. So now that people have had to actually be in presence with each other prior to us now being released, I call us, we're getting released.
Release.
What have you noticed? What are the trends of the stressors that blended families have had to take on during the pandemic, and how have they been handling them, and how have you been advising them to handle their stressors?
Oh, good question. So this is the thing. A lot of times we forget to communicate. You know, we forget to communicate across the board. So when it comes to this pandemic, I know in the very beginning, everyone's like, stay sheltered, stay in your own homes. And then some parents were like, well, it's my weekend, I need to see my kid, or I want to spend time with my kid. But then the question is, okay, well, what are you doing on your side of town? You know, what are you doing in your home? That's the reason why we have to be very diligent about having a healthy relationship amongst each other, amongst the adults, because communication is very important, especially during a crisis, because the thing is that maybe you do have to stay down for about 30 days and not do the exchange of the child, right? And or out because they're an essential worker. So I want to let you know that the exposure will be a little bit heavier on in our family than it would be in your family, because you get to stay home and you get to work from home, right? And
Right.
so being able to have that communication amongst all parties is very, very important. When it comes to also just being flexible and changing the rules, a lot of times we get really stuck on, okay, this is the way the rules are, this is how it has to be in this family, or this is this child has to be here every other weekend. Well, we're in a pandemic, and right now I need everyone to stay sheltered, and we may need to get on a Zoom call and be able to see, communicate with your child just for a little bit. So
Exactly.
flexibility is important too. So I think that all those are helpful. But then also I go back to the communicating with the child as well, helping them to understand what's going on. I think in our society, especially in the Black community, at one point it was like, oh, we didn't talk to the children. It was the adults, because the kids, you do as I say, not as I do, right?
Right.
But the thing is that we forget that the children, and our kids, especially our kids this year, they went through a lot, and they've gone through a lot, and they've been isolated a lot. And so we have to be able to have that communication with them. Like, I'm already isolated from my friends, and then I can't see my other parent, and I can't, go outside and play it. It's a lot to have to deal with in a situation like this.
Most definitely. And you bring us to an interesting point, to that co-parenting is very important, because I found that I had my niece at the beginning of the pandemic, and she was with us for the beginning of the school year. And a lot of children were at home, and I don't want my child to go back into the school. But now, it's time to go back into the school. Now you hear people complaining like, well, I'm not sure about this because they're opening up everything. And so it's like, what does parents do? Like, you're with your child, you don't have the break. And then so you have one parent who's totally kind of free because, the dynamics of not being able to move around. I'm looking at this as a whole culture shock, because now we're coming out again, but life is not the same. Even though everybody is saying, oh, we get to get back to normal. It's ever going to be a normal. So how do you deal with the trauma that you experienced during this lockdown time? And now that we're coming out, how does families deal with whatever trauma they've
communication? And you'll hear me say this a whole lot. Proper communication is so important in any relationship in life, right? But especially in relationships when it comes to blended families, because there are two sets of parenting styles that, while they probably go on even inside the home, it's even more when it's outside the home, And so, whereas, let's take, for instance, the mask. I know at one point the masks were like debated. Oh, do we need to wear them? Do we not need to wear them? Oh, it's so silly. And then all of a sudden it became mandated. And then it was like, okay, well, we're going to all wear them. But, the thing is that this child goes between two different homes. So yes, while you're in one home and you don't need to wear it around your family in this one home, you're actually going to another home that has been exposed to something totally different. So then we need to have that discussion. Hey, you know what? I would like for my child to be able to wear their mask when they're outside, or when, they go amongst other family members that I don't know of, because when that child comes back over here, I have to be able to interact with my child too. And I want to make sure my child's not sick, We have to have that conversation as well.
But I'm sorry to cut you off, but
you're fine.
But something just crazy just popped into my mind. So I was on Facebook before we got on here, and I seen where Nick Cannon just had twin boys.
I know.
And this is like baby's number 7. I mean, I didn't even know he went from 2 kids to 7 kids. And I'm like, when did he have these kids? Like, what's going on? And somebody made a comment like, Black men, we need to really get it together, because they need to get it together. Not get it together, because with having all these babies, they're stretched thin. And so how do you provide the child or the children the time needed to parent properly? Because you're stretched between all these different households. So you have to be over here for one and here for another. And how is he going to really navigate that? So I want to talk about that, because that is blending in a unique way. You have 4 baby mamas and 7 kids and another one on the way. So he's going to have 8 kids. So I want to talk about that. We're going to take a brief break. And so I'm going to play this song. Listen, I love this song by Michelle Williams and Beyonce and Kelly Rowland, When Jesus Says Yes. So we're just going to play a snippet of it. You know, on this show, you know how we do it. We don't play the whole song. So if you want to hear it, you go to your YouTube or you pull it up on your iPad or whatever you want on after the show.
When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. 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 I'm not worried about a thing, 'cause I know you are guiding me. Where you lead me, Lord, I will go. I have no fear, 'cause I know who's in control. There's no limit to what you can do, 'cause it all belongs to you. Yes, it all belongs to you. You're almighty and all powerful, and it all belongs to you. Yes, it all belongs to you. When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. 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 I'm not worried about a thing, 'cause I know you are guiding me. Where you lead me, Lord, I will go. I have no fear, 'cause I know who's in control. There's no limit to what you can do, 'cause it all belongs to you. Yes, it all belongs to you. You're almighty and all powerful, and it all belongs to you. Yes, it all belongs to you. When Jesus says yes, nobody can say no. 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 When Jesus says yes, nobody
All
can say
right.
no. When
When
Jesus
he says yes, no one can say no. And we want to welcome you back. You are tuned in to Fire Unfiltered, and I am your host, Latangela Rogers. And we are joined by a very special guest, Nicole Martinez. She is a licensed therapist in the DC DMV area. So, hi, Nicole. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you.
Okay, before we took this nice little break, I brought up Nick Cannon and his nice little blended family. And now that he's going to have he has 7 children and on his way to baby number 8. How does that blended dynamic work out? Because you have 4 baby mamas and you're stretched thin. So how does this work?
Absolutely. Because the women have to understand what they've gotten themselves into, you know? And so if you're number 1 and possibly number 5, you have to understand that you're going into this with someone who's already spread thin. So we have to 5 different homes or 4 different homes. And so I think that women have to take responsibility for with the choices that they've made as well. On the flip side, a man has to take responsibility for the choices he's made as well, right? And so he has made a choice to procreate with 5 different women. And so what does he has to figure out how to strategically be able to see everyone, and everyone meaning the children, and if he is with any women, if that's what they choose, then that's on them. But as far as the children are concerned, to be able to see that and to be able to navigate that proper communication again. The reason why I call them co-pilots in the beginning is because of this. And we really think about it in a plane. Not everyone flies there's a pilot and a co-pilot, right? But both of them don't fly the plane at the same time. Right. You have one person to fly the plane, and then sometimes the other person will take over and fly, but they don't both do it at the same time. So healthy co-parenting is about learning how to be co-pilots. And that means that some areas, one person will lead, and in other areas, another person will lead. So here it is. You are, I guess, baby number 2, 3, 4, or 5, and so you have to learn that, okay, in some areas I'm going to have to lead this. And in other areas, on the flip side, he's going to have to properly communicate the fact that, hey, I'm spread thin. So therefore, if I do ask somebody to co-lead or co-pilot this with me, then I'm not going to catch an attitude with you, or I'm not going to demean you, or I'm not going to try to control every aspect of the situation, So it is about proper communication, 1, and then 2, being able to understand who's going to be the pilot and who's going to be the co-pilot at what point in time.
And, that is very interesting. And we see this very common. Even they don't have to be in a spotlight or in a public figure. Mm-hmm. But this is happening all over. You have families who are involved in polygamy, where they have multiple different wives, where they're having children with all of these wives and they're stretched thin. But we've seen where some we see it in quite a few countries where this is happening, and they seem to be faring pretty well. Like you said, it's all about communication. It's all about arranging of the schedules
and acceptance.
And acceptance. Right?
Either accepting the position you put yourself in or accepting the position that you are in. And
so that is a part of the mind, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have to be in check.
Yep.
In order for the child to be successful and to benefit. So it's really no longer, it's about you in terms of maturity and your mental capacity to handle something like that, but it's more about the child being in stable environment, in an environment that you said there's mature conversation, there's peace and harmony, right? Mm-hmm. So we're seeing that a lot because we're seeing where people really are not really wanting to engage. And that's a whole nother topic, but this is what our world is turning into, where people are free for all, and of course blended families is becoming a thing. So hello, we have come to the end of our rope today. This was a pretty good episode, and like I said, within 30 minutes we can't really touch everything, everybody, but Nicole's going to be here every third Saturday for therapy sessions on Saturdays. And so we'll get to pick her brain about a lot of different topics. And maybe you can just send us an email, jot us info@roseofjericho-cd.org. And we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And so I will let Nicole give us a closeout, and then again, she can tell you how you can reach her. And if you need some definitely mind therapy, you want to contact her. So hit her up. She'll tell you what to do. So Nicole, you want to take us on that?
Absolutely. I just want to say that, healthy blending of families is not easy, but it is necessary. Okay. And the most important thing is to keep the child first. to keep
Right.
the child or children first. And we always have to look at what's in the best interest of the child or what's in the best interest of the children, you know. And if that means proper communication is in the best interest of the children, then that's what we do. If that means that being able to coordinate, being able to be co-pilots or being able to healthy co-parent is in the best interest of the children, which I'm pretty sure it is, then that's what we do. You know, we have to remove ourselves and we have to be able to put the child first. So I want to say thank you. This has been great. I really look forward to even diving into this even more because it is important. And again, one of the reasons why I am passionate about this topic is because it's becoming more and more common, or at least people are bringing it out more. And so because of that, I think that we should have those hard conversations so that we can either learn from some of the mistakes of the past, you know, or improve on some of the things that have happened. So blended families, and there's so many different types of blended families. It's defined in so many different ways, but blended families are very common. And so proper communication and being able to put the child or children first is the most important thing. You can reach me at 301-433-8777, or you can go to our website, which is www.houseofstill.com. In addition to that, you can friend us on Instagram, which is going to be House of Still Inc. INC. So it's House of Still INC. And then Facebook, you can friend us on Facebook as well, which is House of Still INC. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. And so guess what? I want you to I want everyone to have a biblical reference. You can look at that story of Hannah and Peninnah. Baby, they were blended up and Hannah was a beast. So you want to see how to properly function and handle yourself. Hannah did a good job of handling Peninnah with all those kids. And Hannah wanted those kids. She wanted kids and she couldn't have them. But Peninnah, oh, she wasn't nothing nice. But guess what? Hannah got that blessing, and she look. That is a prime example. To Hannah just got that thing in check. So, to just go, you know, if in a biblical sense, if you want to know how to handle blended families, you can turn yourself to that too. But we want to thank you for joining us on today. It was such an honor and a privilege to be able to serve you and to bring you topics that will help feed your soul, help you to be transformed, and help you to be restored. And this is what we want you to do here. Tune in every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll catch you again next time. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Fire Unfiltered with your host, Latangela Rogers. We pray and trust that what was spoken caused your spirit to leap and desire more of God. If so, contact us by email at info@roseofjericho-cd.org, and to support the broadcast, visit us at www.roseofjericho-cd.org. Until the next time, stay blessed and stay on fire.